Welcome. Today we will see another problems of block diagram reduction. Now draw the diagram. Now this diagram consists of three summing points 1, 2, 3, blocks G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, H1 and H2 are feedback elements. Now again we have to apply that 8 rules of block diagram reduction to solve these problems. Now first rule that we will apply, that is shifting of this takeoff point after the block G3. Therefore when we will shift takeoff point after the block G3, we are going to add another block in line with G5. Therefore when we are going to shift, that is this takeoff point after the block G3, another block having the value reciprocal of the block G3, that is 1 upon G3, is added in line with G5, so that blocks G2 and G3 and G5 and 1 upon G3 are in series. Therefore for series block, these two blocks will get multiplied with each other. Similarly these two blocks will get multiplied with each other. Therefore next step is this G2 G3 and G5 upon G3. Now this G5 upon G3 and G4, these two blocks are in parallel, and this G2 G3, this summing point and this H1, they are forming minor feedback loop. Therefore this solving this minor feedback loop and blocks in parallel, we are having next step, that is G2 G3 divided by 1 plus G2 G3 H1 and G4 plus G5 divided by G3. Now these all three blocks are in series, therefore they will get multiplied with each other. Therefore G1 G2 G3 divided by 1 plus G2 G3 H1 into G3 G4 plus G5 divided by G3. We have done this cross multiplication here, that's why this whole value is here. Therefore G3 and G3 will get cancelled. Now this block and H2, they are forming minor feedback loop. Therefore our next step is to solve this minor feedback loop. Therefore reducing the minor feedback loop, transfer function is equal to CS upon RS, which is equal to G1 G2 into bracket G3 G4 plus G5 divided by 1 plus G2 G3 H1 divided by 1 plus G1 G2 into G3 G4 plus G5 divided by 1 plus G2 G3 H1 into H2. Now by doing cross multiplication, this 1 plus G2 G3 H1, it will get cancelled. Therefore CS upon RS is equal to G1 G2 divided by G3 G4 plus G5 divided by 1 plus G2 G3 H1 plus G1 G2 H2 into G3 G4 plus G5. Therefore this is the final answer. Now next problem, draw the diagram. This consists of 4 summing points 1, 2, 3, 4, blocks G1, G2, G3, G4 and these feedback elements H1 and H2. Therefore by identifying the diagram, we are seeing that this G1, H1 and this summing point, it is forming one minor feedback loop, and this G2 and G3, they are blocks in parallel. Therefore we will apply that two rules. Therefore next step is, that is G1 divided by 1 plus G1 H1, this will be another block, and the G2 plus G3, this will be another block. Now because of this, these two blocks will be in series, therefore they will get multiplied with each other. Therefore next step is multiplication of these two blocks, G1 divided by 1 plus G1 H1 into G2 plus G3. Therefore this block along with this H2 and this summing point, they are forming minor feedback loop. Therefore we will solve this minor feedback loop, that is G1 into G2 plus G3 divided by 1 plus G1 H1 divided by 1 plus G1 into G2 plus G3 divided by 1 plus G1 H1 into H2. Now these two blocks are in parallel, G4 and this block, because their direction is same. Therefore applying blocks in parallel, therefore transfer function is equal to g1 into bracket g2 plus g3 divided by 1 plus g1 h1 divided by 1 plus into bracket g1 into bracket g2 plus g3 into h2 divided by 1 plus g1 h1 plus g4. Now we can do the cross multiplication to solve this problem. Therefore cs upon rs is equal to gs g1 into bracket g2 plus g3 divided by 1 plus g1 h1 plus g1 h2 into g2 plus g3 plus g4. Now next problem, draw the diagram. Therefore R is the input, C is the output, blocks are there G1, G3, G2, G4, three summing points are there 1, 2, 3, and everywhere you will find that unity feedback is there. Since there are no feedback element present, but whenever there is no feedback element present, we have to consider that there is a unity feedback. Therefore next step is, now apply the rules here. Which rules you will apply? Just to check: blocks in series, blocks in parallel, associative law of summing point, shifting takeoff point after the block, behind the block, shifting summing point behind the block or after the block, and minor feedback loop. All these 8 rules you have to check which rule you will apply. Therefore we will modify that block diagram. Whatever this block diagram is there, this diagram will get modified so that we will get the answer. What we have modified? Here we have added, we will add here a block having the transfer function, that is value is equal to 1. Therefore G1, here one block we have added 1. That's why what will happen, this block 1 and this G3, it will become parallel. Therefore, and this summing point will shift this behind the block, so that another block will add at this on this line at the upper line. Therefore this 1 plus G3 block will be there, and this summing point will shift after the block G2. Therefore we have shifted after the block G2. That's why here another block of 1 plus G2 is 1 upon G2 is added on this line. Therefore G1 and 1 plus G3, they are in series, and G2 and G4 are also in series. Therefore we will apply series law, that is multiplication of the block. Therefore G1 into bracket 1 plus G3, here 1 upon G2 will remain as it is, and G2, G4. Now we will interchange summing points. Since these two summing points are directly connected to each other, we will interchange. Therefore by interchanging, what will happen? Two loops will be formed. First loop is nothing but blocks in parallel, and second loop is feedback loop. This G2, G4, here unity feedback, and this summing point, it is forming minor feedback loop. Therefore applying these two rules, blocks in parallel and minor feedback loop, therefore 1 upon G2 plus G1 into bracket 1 plus G3 and G2, G4 divided by 1 plus G2, G4. Now these two blocks are in series, will multiply with each other. Therefore 1 upon G2 plus G1 into bracket 1 plus G3 into G2, G4 divided by 1 plus G2, G4. Now this is again minor feedback loop having unity feedback. Therefore we will solve that. Therefore C upon R is equal to 1 upon G2 plus G1 into bracket 1 plus G3 into G2, G4 divided by 1 plus G2, G4 divided by 1 plus into bracket 1 upon G2 plus G1 into bracket 1 plus G3, G2, G4 divided by 1 plus G2, G4 into 1. Therefore we will solve this. Now next problem, all of you solve this transfer function by using cross multiplication and obtain the final answer. Now next problem, draw this diagram. Now what we will shift this summing point after this block G1, so that here another block of 1 upon G1 will add, and this takeoff point will shift here after the block G4, so that another block here it will add. Therefore H3, in line with H3, two blocks are getting added, 1 upon G3 and 1 upon G4. You just check. This summing point we have shifted here. Therefore G1, G2, H3, 1 upon G3, 1 upon G4. Therefore G1, G2, G3, G4, they are in series. These two are in series, these two are in series, and these three are in series. Therefore H3 divided by G3, G4, G1, G2, G3, G4. Now this is forming minor feedback loop, G3, G4, H2 and the summing point, and we will interchange the position of these two summing points so to follow the associative law, so that this G1, G2 and H1 they will form feedback loop. Therefore G1, G2, H1 it is forming feedback loop, and this feedback loop earlier we have solved, that is G3, G4 divided by 1 plus G3, G4, H2. Now we will solve this feedback loop, G1, G2, H1 and this summing point, they are forming minor feedback loop. Therefore G1, G2 divided by 1 plus G1, G2, H1, G3, G4 divided by 1 plus G3, G4, H2. These two blocks are in series. Therefore we will multiply these two blocks in the next step. Therefore G1, G2, G3, G4 divided by 1 plus G1, G2, H1 into bracket 1 plus G3, G4, H2 into another bracket, and this H3 divided by G3, G4. This is feedback element. Now this is again minor feedback loop. We will solve this minor feedback loop so that this G3, G4 and G3, G4 will get cancelled. G1, G2, G3, G4 divided by 1 plus G1, G2, H1 into 1 plus G3, G4, H2 divided by 1 plus G1, G2, G3, G4 divided by 1 plus G1, G2, H1 into 1 plus G3, G4, H2 into H3 divided by G3, G4. This G3, G4, G3, G4 will get cancelled, and these two brackets will also get cancelled by cross multiplication. Therefore final answer we are getting it as C upon R is equal to G1, G2, G3, G4 divided by 1 plus G1, G2, H1 into 1 plus G3, G4, H2 plus G1, G2. Therefore this is the end of the chapter. Now all of you solve all these problems so that it will be practice for you. See that practice makes man perfect. Solve the problems, apply the block diagram reduction rules. Okay, thank you very much.